Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, I normally really hate this kind of content that I'm going to be talking about today. And I mean, really hate it. I think it's despicable, garbage, trash, throwaway. And I'm stunned every time I see it happen. And I think, well, someone's sitting down in an office somewhere getting paid to post this crap. And I'm talking about the basic bitch engagement bait social media posts where someone working for a brand will post up something that's, they don't care about what the answer is. They just post a thing that they know people will talk about. They don't really care about the answer. It's like, oh, which one of these would you pick, or which is better, whiskey or vodka? It's obviously whiskey. What kind of idiot would drink vodka over whiskey? I mean, I guess vodka is a little more flexible, but anyway, but I did see one that, while I will not engage with it to reward that behavior on social media, I do want to talk about it because you look at it and you go, that's actually a really good question. This was a retweet of a quote tweet of a tweet that came in the feed and was talking about pick one game from 2018 to keep. And the first thing that struck me about this is 2018 was actually a pretty badass year for games. I mean, that's what made this interesting, because it is a very difficult decision. There's a lot of good games on that list. Which one would you keep? Which one game? So I'm going to go through the list and just off the top of my head have a think about this. Spoiler alert, I already know which one I'd pick because I sat there and looked at it for a few minutes and went, yeah. Play along with me in the down below and let me know which one you'd pick and why, and which one you think doesn't deserve to be on this list. Because there's a couple there that I don't think deserve to be on this list. Anyway, Red Dead Redemption 2, didn't like it. Found it quite dull and boring. The pacing of it, the Western theme, didn't really appeal to me. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm Australian. I know the Americans love their Western stuff, but I don't know. Aside from the spaghetti Western subgenre of filmmaking, I don't really have a lot of time or engagement in Western theming stuff, and it's just a very slow, meaningless, uninteresting game. I wasn't engaged with the characters or the story. It looked gorgeous, but I could do without that. Forza Horizon 4, same kind of deal. It was very, very fun for the, 60 or 70 hours I put into it when it launched. Very pretty, and just then I didn't play it one day and never went back to it again. So, Sea of Thieves. Never had much time for Sea of Thieves. I know it's shockingly still popular to this day. I expected that game to just die because it had one of those really rocky launches that a lot of actually the games on this list had. Call of Duty Black Ops. It's been 12 years plus, maybe 15 years since I've even been slightly interested in a Call of Duty game. No, thank you. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. The sequel just came out this year, of course, or this week, I think. I do have a copy of that. Still yet to play it because I'm told it's very emotionally taxing, and I'm as an autistic guy with bipolar disorder, I have to really choose carefully when I'm going to play that game because I don't know how it's going to affect me. It's a trigger an episode and knocked me down for a while, so I'm a little bit worried to play that game. But I hear good things about it. Not so much about the sequel. Sequel's a lot more of a mixed bag, apparently. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. This is the first on the list that would make my list of the short list, I guess, of choices. A reboot of the Tomb Raider series that was then followed on by a couple of sequels and more to come. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really wonderful reinvention of the Tomb Raider series. The original games I did play, the first couple, wasn't really engaged with them. The controls back in those days, it was the early days of 3D sort of platformer adventure games and stuff like that. And if you've ever played the original Tomb Raider with the original controls on the original controller, oh, it's a sloppy mess. So yeah, I get that people liked it. I just couldn't play it. It was just too sloppy for me. Didn't really engage with how it controlled, especially on how the shooting worked. Good Lord. But the remake from 2018, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, brilliant. Loved it. Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This is where I started to fall off the Assassin's Creed games. I didn't like the original ones because of the mechanics reasons, and then I liked them for a little while, and then Odyssey I was like, okay. It's just Ubisoft Lego block construction kind of deal. There was nothing terribly interesting in there. Hitman 2, did not play that. Played the Hitman, the original, again, another remake, a rebirth of the series, the one that came before too. Liked it, didn't love it. No Man's Sky. It's another one that would make the shortlist, but not back in the day. Like if you asked me this question in 2018 versus today, the answers might be different, and there's a couple of examples of that. But No Man's Sky obviously was a kind of disaster at launch, a lot of disappointment. It did not deliver what they promised. A lot of people were very mad about it. Sean Murray is a huge liar. I will never believe a word out of his mouth again. But the development team as a whole have absolutely redeemed that game. We've spoken about that many times now. It's had a wonderful redemption arc. It's just about to get another update as well with some new content and stuff that I might jump into. I haven't jumped into the last one yet because they just added ship customization at long last. So I want to jump back in and play with that because I've always wanted that in No Man's Sky. But yeah, that would be one I would have to think really carefully about keeping because it is quite a lot of fun. I don't tend to engage with it long term. I'll jump into it every year or two and go, oh, this is really fun, and then wander away from it and don't think about it again for another year or two. Monster Hunter World is another one that I bounced off of when it launched. I did buy it on the PC launch because it launched on console a few months before PC, and it was a massive hit, and everybody was, this is amazing, this is one of the best games ever, and I had personal friends who were deeply, deeply engaged with it. So when it launched on PC, I decided, well, I'll see what all the fuss is about. So I bought it on Steam and I played it and bounced off it pretty quickly. Because of the way the mechanics worked and the way the UI was worked and the way the game didn't explain itself very clearly. And I'd not really played a lot of games like that before that had very, very deliberate combat. A lot of the stuff I played in action combat sort of genre stuff was very button mashy, hack and slashy, very rapid, very just run in, beat everything up. And, Monster Hunter does not play like that. So it took me a while. I've told this story many times before. It took me like 3 attempts before it finally latched onto me and got its claws into me, and I finally understood it, and it finally clicked for me. And now I've got thousands of hours in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne and Rise and Sunbreak, and very much looking forward to the next game coming out this year. So yeah, that one is right at the top of my shortlist. In fact, I'm going to spoil it now, my choice now for you. That'd be the game I'd keep, because thousands and thousands of hours of gameplay, literally. It's not a number I'm picking out of thin air. I can literally thousands of hours in Monster Hunter. Battlefield 5, same thing as Call of Duty, just don't care and haven't cared about it for just eons. Fallout 76, like No Man's Sky, has been redeemed. It has a full redemption arc now. It is really, really engaged. I'm still playing it right now. As a matter of fact, I played it this morning, did my dailies this morning. I did take a fairly big break while, when it launched, jumped off it within 80 hours or so. Then with the Wastelanders update, hopped back in and went, this is much better, and played for another 80 hours or so, and then didn't touch it for a couple of years until the Fallout show, came around. I went, okay, I'm going to pop back into Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 and see what's going on. Fallout 4 hadn't had its next-gen update yet. I was still looking forward to that. I thought, I'm going to wait till that comes out. Turns out that was a mistake, but, So I jumped into 76 instead, and I went, this is fantastic. And I've had a couple of hundred hours, actually 300 or 400 hours worth over the last couple of months of 76, sort of really quite engaged with that. So yeah, between 76 and Monster Hunter, it's a very close call, but Monster Hunter definitely between the two, really. Not least of which because if the servers ever get shut down, there is still Monster Hunter content to be played, whereas if the servers for Fallout 76 get shut down, you can't play that game anymore. So, thinking long term. Spyro, played the original on PlayStation, haven't played the remake that's re-mentioned here, or the reboot or whatever it was. I would probably enjoy it very much, but by the time it came out, I was not that interested in classic, retro 3D platformers anymore. I'd played so many of those in my younger days. I didn't feel a big drive to come back to it. I don't have particular nostalgia for Spyro. A girl I was dating back, in the day really, really loved it, so I watched her play a bunch of it. But I've got no personal attachment to Spyro, so I wasn't really interested in the nostalgia bait didn't work on me with Spyro. There are other 3D platformer games that might work with, but not for Spyro. Far Cry 5, I consider the last great Far Cry game. That would be on the short list as well. I had a tremendous amount of fun with that. The sense of humor, the mechanics, the weapons, the crafting, the map was beautiful. The quests were fun. Again, it was very, very Ubisofty in the collectathon stuff and everything, but for whatever reason, Far Cry just balanced all that out really, really nice. I had a fantastic time. It had a sequel that was linked to it. It came out a bit later, used the same map, sort of a few years on, post-apocalyptic version of the same map. Didn't really enjoy that one as much. And since then, I've sort of fallen away from Far Cry. I'll come back to it when the new one comes along. But Far Cry 5, I think, is the last truly great Far Cry game that I had tremendous fun with and spent many, many hours with. Crash, a little bit like Spyro. Played a fair amount of it back in the original version of it on the PlayStation. But the nostalgia mate really wasn't quite there for the N. Sane trilogy. I was like, you know, in the modern day, Crash doesn't hold up as well as it once did. I still have a lot of love, nostalgia for it and everything, but it wasn't enough to get me to dive into the Crash trilogy. And considering what else is on this list, it's not nearly enough to make it to the short list even. And then Divinity Original Sin just is not a game I played at all or had any real interest in. For whatever reason, I'm just not familiar with that series, the lore or anything about it at all. So yeah, Fallout 76, Monster Hunter World, No Man's Sky, and Far Cry 5 would be on the short list, but as far as how many hours those games have already given me and still promise to give me in the future, like I'm still playing Monster Hunter World. I still go back to it fairly frequently. I was playing it just a few days ago. If you frequent watcher of my channel, you've seen Monster Hunter World gameplay in my recent videos when I'm just using it as background video footage, and that's stuff I have recorded like recently when I'm using it. So yeah, still loving Monster Hunter World. So yeah, on that entire list, Monster Hunter World will be the one I pick because it's so much game there and so many. There's still stuff in Monster Hunter World I haven't done. Like Monster Hunter Rise, I did a little challenge for myself just before Sunbreak came out, where I did 100 hunts for every single weapon. And there's 15 weapons, so they get 14 weapons in the game. Don't know why I said 15. So yeah, I kind of made myself a mild expert on every single weapon the game has in Rise, but I haven't repeated that in World, so I still could do that to milk out even more playtime with it. I've only used Sword and Shield, Switch Axe, and Insect Glaive extensively on the Charge Blade. So there's only 4 weapons I've spent any real time with in Monster Hunter World. If you're curious, when I first played it, I picked the Longsword, which is part of the reason I fell off the game, because mechanically, if you're coming from a hack and slash kind of attitude and you go play Longsword in Monster Hunter World, it doesn't feel right. Might not have bounced off the game before I just started with Sword and Shield, which is a lot more familiar. But, you know, that's a whole nother discussion what we've had before. And we'll probably have again by the time Wilds gets more press. Hopefully we find out more about it during the whole June. Here's what used to be E3 news kind of stuff. Really, really want to know more about Monster Hunter Wilds. So yeah, let me know down below what you think of this list. And like I said, I don't really normally engage with this kind of thing, but this particular one really caught my attention and caught the attention of a lot of other people because it's got like 3.7 million views. But yeah, that's what I have to offer you today for viewing and entertainment purposes, I suppose. Thanks for watching. I am Bloody. We'll catch you next time. Thank you as always to the patrons scrolling up above there who's above me on support. I truly appreciate. Catch you next time.